Alright, this is the post update how to wire a trans brake slash anti-lag slash turbo staging button slash bump box slash awesome turbo car shuffle into the second staging beam. And how that's done is the MS3 can actually directly control your trans brake. It actually fires your trans brake. And once you get up to your second bulb, see, here's what happens. For people that don't totally understand this, you got a nitrous car in your right lane, you're in the turbo car in the left lane. Say it takes you 1.5 seconds to make full boost from getting everything to the floor, blah, full boost, I'm ready to rock. And you're on pro tree, it's a half second or 0.0400 tree. And you roll up, you hit the second bulb, they light go basically immediately. And the other guy hits 3 kits of nitrous and he's fucking gone. And you're like, I'm coming, hold on, wait. So, what people have done to get past this is they get on their trans brake, anti-lag, everything all together, and they hit the first bulb, get on the trans brake, anti-lag, everything. They're making 14 pounds, they're at 3,000 RPM, and they're just steaming, and they're on the first bulb, so they can't race. They touch another button, and what it does is it, in thousandths or 10,000ths or 100,000ths of a second, you use a solid state relay because a regular relay isn't fast enough, it will turn the relay on and off and just engage and disengage the trans brake immediately, and you'll lurch the car however long you make that delay. So, it depends on your tire height, gear ratio, drive, and your trans, a lot of things. But you mess with this until you're at a comfortable amount, and then you can bump into the second bulb with the car just steaming and ready to go, and then let go of your trans brake, and then the car flies, full boost, full RPM, no waiting. You can cut a pro light, like awesome if you can even fucking do that, but the car will be ready to go. So here is the thing. We'll fire up Tuner Studio here. I'll just key the car on so you can see the options light up. But basically what I have here is this is a turbo car. So in MS3, under advanced engine and launch 2-step, trans brake, 3-step, all those options, you go in here and what you do is, launch control option is on launch. And then input, launch in. There's actually a wire called launch in, and that's connected to my wire here that says anti-lag. It just grounds the input wire. So one side of that's going to launch in, the other side is going to a regular ground on the car. It can be dirty ground, it doesn't matter. And I'll quick reference that. Dirty ground means chassis, battery, whatever. Clean ground usually means it's got to go to signal ground, or the ECU ground, or sensor ground, or any one of those you want to call it. The ECU actually has its own clean grounds that go to very sensitive sensors, and then there's other grounds like relays and other bullshit. And to mark these inputs off, all you need is a dirty ass ground. You can, honestly, when I bump boxed it in the video, I took the one wire down there and I touched it to this piece of metal, and that's how I bumped it. So it works fine. And then what you have is you have your regular anti-lag settings. When to induce the anti-lag. I said 2702, so about 2500 it starts pulling timing and getting retarded, and that's its all own feat here, all these micromanaging settings to do exactly what you need. But launch control on launch in. And then what you do here to save some wiring is trans brake button. You say same as launch. There's other options here. You could have 3 buttons to do this if you wanted to be a total idiot. Or, honestly, if you have some sort of special situation where you only want to do the trans brake, and you only want to do launch control sometimes, and then you only want to bump box sometimes, you can put 3 buttons in a row. But if we just stick to the program here, which is what most people want to do, get on a button, get the gas pedal to the ground, push another button that lurches the car into the second beam, and you're ready to go. Now, I have in no way any experience with which settings here make the car move exactly into a bulb, because I haven't gotten to try it yet, but at least they work and it's a starting point. So what you do is launch in, turns on your anti-lag, obviously, and then you go over here to the trans brake options, and you say same as launch. So when you push the anti-lag button, it turns on the output for the trans brake, which is nitrous 1. That's what I'm using. It has 2 outputs for nitrous, 1 and 2. I'm using nitrous 1. What that does is, you have, this is a solid state relay, which a lot of people are giving me grief about. It's a Hella, and it's much, much faster than a regular relay, but they're telling me it's not actually a high-end solid state, even if it is a solid state. I don't know. I can't hear it click. It's fast as fuck. It may not be like the professional one, but it bumps. It works. It does everything else. So this was $6, and a high-end one is $26. So I saved about $20, and it still works. I'm totally unfamiliar with SSRs exactly, so I just tried it. It works. I'm pretty happy. So I doubt I'll even swap it out. As long as I can get the resolution to bump in, I'm fine. So what I did here, this is how I wire relays. This is how I make it super easy. You see this red wire right here? That's going up to the fuse panel. Super easy there. So what I do is I take the red wire and I use it to feed. The easiest way to wire up a relay is the one that's flat here and then the one that's level at the top. Those are always your in and outs for main power. So what you want to do is you want to feed main power to here, and you could even jump this over with a much skinnier wire like a 22 gauge and power the other side of your switch. So when you look at a relay and the tooth is level on the bottom and horizontal on the top, this one's vertical, this one's horizontal, those are your power feed wires. You can feed the power. And then the left and the right are the triggers. And now since it's a solenoid, it doesn't matter what the fuck side you power or ground. So you could take this power wire and swap it over to here, and take this wire and swap it over to here. They just trigger this to turn on the high power part. So what I do is I take the power wire and I jump it over to a trigger spot, and then the ECU, this is, you can see it says nitrous output number 1 on the wire, and then this goes down to the trans brake in the trans tunnel. It's that simple. And then the trans brake is grounded to a dirty chassis ground, however you want to say that also. So when you push the anti-lag button, it turns on the anti-lag routine, does all the timing and ignition cut and everything else. At the same time, it's turning on this output, which is turning on the solid state relay, turning on your trans brake. So everything's on at once. It's all working very easily, one relay. And then what I have set here is, you can see here, turbo staging button. They call it turbo staging because, like I said again, the bump box shit is proprietary and he owns it, so he can sue you or tell you to remove it from its, you know, whatever. He owns rights to it. It's his thing. But everyone calls it bump, so it's just like Band-Aid is a copyright, but everyone calls every fucking Band-Aid a Band-Aid. But anyway, you can see here the amount of time it has to be on and the amount of time it has to get released and the main number of moves. All of these, there's a good description on these, and honestly, I haven't used it enough to tell you exactly what these do. Release time, how long to release trans brake for each move step. This should be set so long enough, move the car without any speed. Okay, release time, I'm assuming is how long it's going to release the brake and then reactivate it. So if you're not moving far enough, you need to make this number larger. If you're not moving enough, or if you're moving too far, you need to make this number smaller. In the video I had this at 0.100, which is only a tenth of a second, and that was enough to do like almost an entire tire rotation. And then on time, what does this mean? How long the trans brake should be reactivated between each step. This should be set long enough to fully grab again. Ah, okay, yeah, you want to make that long enough so you can't machine gun. So if you hold it, you know, it can't just fucking ratchet in real quickly. Main number of moves. How many moves the trans brake release steps on the first press of the button? Each subsequent press gives a single move. Okay, yeah, well, I mean, I'll see how all those work, but what's nice about this is when you touch, I'm going to get buttons on my steering wheel to do this because there's no other way you can launch a super fast car, in my opinion. Not have both hands on the wheel. When it comes out, you're just going to steer all over. What's cool is you hold this and it doesn't bump. You have to actually let go. You have to hold it and then let it go, and then it bumps. So you can't accidentally, what'll be neat is when you have it on a button, you trans brake on this side, and then you first bulb stage, trans brake, and then you come over here to your bump button, and you hit it, and nothing happens, and you let it go, and it bumps. Then the car lurches in. So it's only when you let go. So what's kind of nice is the car isn't going to lurch, and you're not going to, you know, auto fire that bitch into the second beam. You can change the way all of that works, obviously, but that's really cool to me. You have to press it and let go, press it and let go. Now, if you have it set up pretty short, it might take, you have to understand, it might take 3 bumps for you to get in. You could set up the car so that it goes 6 inches, I think, from first stage to second stage in 1 bump. Here's the issue. If you are too shallow, you'll never get to the second bump. Your next bump is going to be way too far. And then if you're too deep, you're going to go way past it, and you're going to deep stage and turn off your first bulb. So most people want to bump 2-3 times in. I would say 3 is a pretty safe bet. You're always going to get your second bulb at least. And then you just don't touch the bump at all. You just let go of your tranny brake button, however you set all that bullshit up. Some people buy the Hurst button so they can push the button on the top for the trans brake, and then they buy that line lock switch or whatever. I mean, I'm unsure how well it would work with the buttons on the shifter. I don't totally like the buttons on the shifter. I don't like that idea. I like putting it on the steering wheel, or maybe you could put it in a box and hold the box like a Game Boy and launch this shit like that. But what's really cool is all of that stuff works. It's integrated. I'm going to be messing with it at the track sometime soon also, but as you can see in my video, it works great. What's awesome is it's included into the box. So if you wanted all of these cool features, like the boost controller and everything else, you spend $25 on a boost control valve instead of $300 at least for an electronic boost controller, and you buy a relay for $6 to $26 and you have a bump box. Because you still bought the computer can do it all. And what's crazy is I still have a nitrous number 2 output, and I still have a thing called table switch where I can do other things, and then there's a bunch of other wires I'm using for inputs, so there's still a whole shitload of things available, but I hope that gives you some info here on how I wired all of this stuff in. I think I'm even going to draw a diagram. Some people ask me, but it's super easy. It's 2 wires going into the computer, you know, 2-step in, and then nitrous out, and then nitrous in to activate the bump. And then the rest of it's just simple wires in and out of a relay. And then some programming over here, and then get the car right, and then that's it. And I still have the content sensor and fuel temp and oil pressure and everything else already set up. So all of that's working in unison. It's really cool. So let me know if you have any questions or if I can do anything else about this. Hopefully I can figure out what the hell is wrong with this vehicle before it makes me insane. I think I'm going to end up swapping heads or the motor or something drastic right away next to figure it out. But that's how it goes. I'm normally pretty lucky. Most of the time I can talk shit and be like, I don't even try, and this thing goes pretty fast, or, you know, that's how I normally am. But this time it's catching up with me, also because I actually give a shit about the car and I'm taking my time, so that's kicking me in the ass for sure. It's like, you bought me nice wheels? Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Who do you think you are? Anyway, it's trying to ground me and teach me some humility, so those are the 2 updates for now. Hope they're action-packed.